The Energy and Environmental Research Center at the University of North Dakota is one of my favorite places because of the good work it does. The Director of Energy Systems Development is Dr. Brian Kalk, former Public Service Commission member. Our first chance to talk to him in his new role at EERC. Brian, nice to see you. How are you?
Hey, super, Scott. Glad to be up here in the campus of UND. I know it's a fun spot in your heart as well.
It is indeed. I'm going to start calling you the doctor. Dr. Kalk. Yeah. There's a lot of doctors up there. You got all kinds of brainiacs on the campus of EERC and the campus of UND. And I know today we're going to talk a little bit about an event that you had there recently called Energizing North Dakota, a partnership summit. It looked like a who's who of all kinds of folks talking about the future. First of all, describe the summit. How'd it go?
It went very well, Scott. What we did was the EERC's had this the last 2 years where we invite folks, whether it's energy producers, pipeline folks, energy users, to come up and we share with them what we're up to for, the past year, what we're hoping to do in the future, get their kind of thoughts. And so what we did for this last one is we laid out, 7 very high-level goals that we think we'd like to get to at the EERC as far as research that would benefit North Dakota. And really it kind of helps us stay focused on what we think the research needs are for the area, helps us build a relationship with the people that are involved directly in the energy industry, and we're basically out there at the end of the day to serve the people of North Dakota and the region.
Goal number one, let's talk about a few of these. Goal number one, man alive, folks, reach at least 2 million barrels of oil production per day. That would be double, obviously, where we're at. Hitting 1 million not all that long ago was a really big deal. How do we get to 2 million?
Well, Scott, kind of our process when we're thinking about it was from a research viewpoint. I know there's going to be a lot of pricing issues and what the value of oil is around the world, but we looked at it, depending what group you talk to, anywhere from 8% to 9%, 6% of the recoverable oil is coming out of the Bakken. We think we can double that goal to 16, 18, 20% recoverable and have it with refracs and different technologies for using CO2 and ethane. So we want to look at it from a research goal that we have the technology to extract more oil. We now have the pipeline capacity in place, so that's the way we looked at it. And that's a lofty goal, but we want to get the research to that level so we don't have to go out and drill a whole bunch more wells, but we can get more production out of the wells that are in play.
What kind of a time frame would we be talking on something like that? Any rough estimate on when it's a realistic goal to be at 2 million barrels of oil?
From a research viewpoint, every year they figure out better things to do, as far as getting more extractable oil out of the ground. And so right now there's a couple of test plots that are going on. It's something that I think within, 3 to 5, 7 years probably, research is always tough. But one thing to be pragmatic is that in talking to the experts out there in oil production, they said that really the value of oil, the cost, could be the biggest factor. If the price of oil spiked, the production would go way up. So this is something I think that we looked at that 3 to 5 year range. We want to get the research to continue to grow. But I think until we get 100% out of the ground, there's still going to be research opportunities.
The two big pillars of North Dakota's economy are agriculture and energy, and with this amazing abundance that we have. And I see your second goal is capitalizing on agriculture and energy synergies. Like what? What would that be?
Well, right now there's a project we're working on that basically captures the CO2 from some of the coal plants out in western North Dakota, working with an ag group and basically capture the CO2, put it in the greenhouse type setting to get more ag production. You've probably heard the governor talk about this, and maybe even Senator Hogan and Congressman Kramer, where basically North Dakota can be growing, fruits and vegetables year-round. So that's an opportunity for ag and energy. We worked hard with, the ethanol piece over the years, but anywhere where we can capitalize on those two, because I think ag and energy pay the bills for the state of North Dakota. And we've got to be thinking it's not just energy. How can energy work with agriculture? How can there be ways that we can get more production out of the land? We're partnering with NDSU in a lot of this. So this is one of those goals, I think, that we can do the energy piece, rely on NDSU for some of the ag expertise, have projects that benefit the whole state. We've got our major research universities involved. It just seems like a win-win goal that see what opportunities may come forward other than what I talked about right now.
Other places in the country that have oil development and refineries have spin-off petrochemical plants, plastic plants. There's been some discussion of one of those in North Dakota and some efforts underway. I see number 3 is maximize the use of natural gas. What would that look like?
Well, I think you kind of hit on it, Scott. Finding those value-added products that we could create in North Dakota and then move them on to a different market for sale. So not so much moving the natural gas down the road in the pipeline, figuring out something that we can do with the petrochemical industry in North Dakota to make it all pencil out and then ship it forward. And maybe even one of the things we was talking about, the maximizing oil production. Right now we're using some research where ethane, that part of one of the things that the subproducts of natural gas, to be used more downhole to get more oil recovery. So maybe not all of it make something out of it. Maybe we can reuse some of it in ways to get out more oil production. So, it's a broad goal. We're trying to figure out as many products as we can, but it just seems like, all this natural gas, we've got to be doing more with it than we are right now.
You guys are nothing if not bold with goal number 4, eliminate pipeline leaks. Now, I've always been told that, obviously the rate of leaks, the rate of accidents in the delivery, 99.99% of the time, you put something in one end of the pipeline, it gets to where it's going safely at the other end. Cost efficient, safest way possible of delivering. But accidents happen, and they're always going to be baked into the cake. This goal suggests that you can eliminate pipeline leaks altogether. Is that the intention here?
Well, I'll be honest, Scott. I mean, I go back to my Marine Corps time. We had a goal of, zero combat fatalities. Well, if you're going into combat, you're probably going to have that happen. So, realistically, if you're going to have pipelines, leaks will occur. But the goal is to eliminate. And we're thinking of it, back in my PSC days, the first thing, make sure folks are utilizing their call before the dig. The second thing is new technologies that when the leak does occur, that if the company can find it, instead of having, I think, Governor Burgum has said it very well, that you don't want the farmer to find these things. And so we're actually partnered with Rice University. They've got the Nano Technology Center down there, where these little nano sensors, we're looking at having them flow through the oil. And if they hit something that's not oil, these sensors will talk to each other. And so setting an array of sensors in place at the very low cost right now. So basically you can just monitor this stuff all the way through. So, yeah, the goal, I think, is got to be zero pipeline leaks, because that's what, I think is going to be the best thing for our pipeline capacity, is to make sure that you have one little leak. It ends up just being this huge firestorm. I think you talk pragmatically about it's the safest way to move a product, but our goal is to have zero pipeline leaks. And I think this ties in well to a lot of different things, because nobody wants leaks, and we're going to have the research and development component that'll make it so the next generation of pipelines will even be safer than the ones we have now, because of remote sensors that we're able to put into place.
Goal 5, enhance baseload reliability and energy export opportunities. And that kind of goes across several energy sources. What would that be?
Well, I guess we were kind of thinking of, North Dakota has all this energy potential, whether it's coal, whether it's wind, whether it's natural gas, and we're never going to use all of our energy in North Dakota. And so for someone to suggest that we'd only grow enough ag products to use in North Dakota, I think most folks would kind of scoff at that. So look at the energy future of North Dakota. We continue to be an energy exporter. We've got MISO as a power producer or power regional transmission organization in the eastern part of the state. Southwest Power Pool is the same kind of group in the western part of the state. So we're connected to these larger markets. So as other states continue to, I guess, not think long term for their power needs, this is the opportunity for North Dakota to have a market for our coal energy forever. As we put renewables on the grid and make sure we do it correctly, we can also export those to other parts of the country. So I just think this is an opportunity where, states like Minnesota and Illinois, some of them are getting way too carried away with shutting down their base load. Well, let them do what they're doing with their state policies, but we're positioned that when the time comes, we can sell to those markets and make sure that our energy generators got a market for their power.
Goal 6 is a great one. Take full advantage of North Dakota's 25 billion tons of recoverable lignite, like a 900-year supply of this affordable, reliable energy right underneath us. How do we do that?
Well, there's electricity, which I talked about in the previous goal, but we're doing things like rare earth elements that I know you've talked with Dr. Steve Benson about that. We've got a lot of research and development going on where we can get more out of lignite coal than just electricity. These rare elements can be used for electronics. We don't have to rely on the Chinese to bring in these. Also, the value of fly ash, the ability to capture the CO2 from the lignite. So make lignite much more than just producing electricity. And we've got several projects that we're working on with that right now, but we're going to use this lignite. It's a strategic resource. We've got to make sure that's got to be a large part of North Dakota's energy future.
And goal number 7, the last one on this list, this great list that I could spend a week on all of them. They're good, meaty topics. They're just make you so excited for the future of North Dakota's energy industry. But this one's probably the most important, honestly, because without it, any of the other 6 are that much tougher to do. And you know this as a former member of the Public Service Commission in North Dakota. It's informed the world on energy and environmental topics. We got to have a conversation. So some of this extremism that's out there, this environmental activism, even in some cases eco-terrorism, that absolutely without regard for the facts go out there and denigrate an industry and do everything in their power to, cause chaos to shut these things down. That can only be won by a conversation of information, right?
Absolutely, Scott. And that's what we were thinking about. We want our researchers to be presenting at every conference we can. We want to have an audience with governors, with senators, with people in the Senate station about, okay, what is the true pro and con for wind? What is the true pro and con for solar? What is the true pro and con for pipelines? And have it based on data that we've developed, and then talking about data, not emotion. And it's a tough lift, but it's as you follow very closely. The Dakota Access was not about pipeline safety. It was about people that didn't like fossil fuels. And so we want to make sure one of our strategic goals is to educate people what the real facts are out there, both sides. And, we sit as a research university that is really, agnostic to what the energy source is, and we just look at the data and present it out there. But I think people have got to know the facts and make decisions accordingly. And so that's probably, as you said, one of the most challenging. But any chance we can get some of our experts on the stage to talk about it, we're going to take that opportunity. And that's why being on your show and things like this is so important. So thank you.
Enjoyed it very much. Kudos to Tom Erickson and the whole team at ERC. This is a great document, a great blueprint, and great to know there's some good minds working on all this stuff at the Energy and Environmental Research Center at the University of North Dakota. North Dakota's energy future, 7 goals to get it done and guide that future. Dr. Brian Kalk, thanks so much.
Thanks for having us on, Scott.